Joel Fruendt of SenesTech. Welcome back to the show. It's been a while since we spoke to you. How you doing?
Doing great, Ben. It has been a while. A lot of things going on, and hope you've been doing well as well.
We have been. We've been navigating the year pretty well, navigating all the craziness in the market pretty well. So let's get down to business. Yesterday, so you've had 3 press releases, so a lot going on. I mean, do you want me to give a quick recap, or do you want to just how do you want this to go?
Well, go ahead. Go ahead. Give a quick
All right,
recap.
let me tell you this. Let me give a quick recap. You had earnings yesterday, and what I saw, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, what I saw is continued sequential growth on revenue, continued sequential growth year over year, continued improvement sequentially as well, right? And year over year on EBITDA as well, right? So we're seeing that continued sequential growth. Lots and lots of things cooking, lots of shots on goals. So I'm going to get into details and ask you a lot about all those shots on goals and the progress you're having in all of those areas. But why don't you just start very high level summary of that earnings, and then we'll get into those 2 press releases as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Good summary, by the way. But our revenues increased 43% year over year. So we were excited about that. That shows the continued growth. The evolution of our Evolve product line is probably the most exciting. It now accounts for 77% year over year growth, and it's 85% of our total revenues now from ContraPest, the original liquid product. So you can see that transformation happening, and anytime you look at that transformation, that's only good things for us, because Evolve gives us a product that's in line economically with other rodenticides out there, that has an extended shelf life of 18 months plus. So what that means is it can give us access to distribution that we couldn't have with ContraPest. And it's a much easier product to use out in the field, which is an important point in a lot of our marketplaces in the verticals that we're in. So we're excited about that. The other exciting thing too is we've shown once again that our gross margins are staying in line with actually a little above what our expectations are. They were about 63%. We had planned on 60 plus. And so they've been fluctuating between 63 and 67. So we're excited about that. And we're really focusing also on our costs and making sure that we're not overspending as we track our path to profitability.
Yeah, and that's a great area you ended on, because that's what I want to talk about. Look, we got very sophisticated people in our community and followers of StoryTrading. And we all know when it comes to small microcap companies, the holy grail is flipping to profitability. And it's a touchy issue, because it's one where, if you have, sometimes you got to access capital markets on really bad terms. I mean, there's a lot of vultures out there that try to, give money to these small companies, and it's a problem. Now, for you guys, however, first of all, you've raised a good amount of money on pretty good terms. In fact, let me just see if this is correct. Is the latest numbers, you have around 10 million cash, is that right?
Yeah, we got $10.2 million in cash right now.
And the shares outstanding is, this Webull is showing me 5.2 million, is that correct?
Yeah, it's just over 5 million.
Wow, that's great. So you're talking about basically your enterprise value is only $7 million. So, the key question that everyone's interested in is, can you flip to profitability before you have to access these capital markets, which are just terrible for small companies, right? Now that you got this 10 million, which you did a great job on all those raises, what's your answer to that? Can we get to profitability without having to, get some sort of bad dilution or something?
Yeah, I think the answer to that is yes, we believe so. 10.2 million will get us into 2027 on its own. And I think our guidance before has been and still is that, we think that there's a cash flow break even somewhere in the second half of 2026 for us.
Mm-hmm. And that's this is interesting. Your EV to sales is under 2 right now. Your EV to sales is under 2 right now. So in terms of valuation, pretty low valuation here. If you are actually able to flip to that profitability. So how are things tracking versus your own internal expectations? Because we don't have really much analyst coverage. So in terms of the sequential revenue growth you've seen, has that been matching or under or over your expectations that you internally modeled for 2025 so far?
Yeah, I think that when you start looking at, we've talked about our vertical markets that we're in, and the sales channels, really focus on our 6-channel strategy on what we're doing in each of those channels in order to get there. I think we're right in line with what the expectations that we had on ourselves were. One of the key components of our business is being a regulated product is getting approvals, whether that's state approvals, country approvals. And then once you get approvals, in a lot of the markets that we're in, there's a lot of testing and pilot programs that go on, such as like with New York City and the municipal side. Once we get through the pilot programs and the testing periods, then we start seeing the sales come along. And I'll give you a perfect example of that is in our pest management vertical, and one of the theme parks that is worldwide started testing our product, and it took about 10 months for them to do their own internal tests, and now we've gotten our 3rd sequential monthly order in a row. And we're starting to see that in a number of different areas.
So that's after the 10 months of testing?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So were you paid during that 10 months of testing?
Well, they bought a small amount of material, and they did their own test. And mainly when you do tests on this, it's about consumption. Do the rats and mice eat it?
Right.
And because there's all of the data that we have that shows it works, and you start to see some of the field tests now are showing the same thing, is that once they start consuming it, after 3 or 4 months, you're going to see a drop in the population, a significant drop in the population. As you get into 6 and 7 months, then you see even more of a drop, where you eventually get down to the point where as part of an integrated pest management program, you're going to get a 90+% reduction.
So let me ask about this theme park. I mean, I assume it's either Great Adventure or Disney World, because I don't know any others. But are there more? I don't know. If there's more, are there more than those 2? Or there's like the 2 big theme parks?
Well, there's a lot of theme parks out there. Absolutely.
Oh, really?
And we're getting a lot of interest from a number of them. Okay.
All right, cool. So when you're talking about these 3 sequential orders, are these orders still like kind of in volume wise? Is it still like considered testing, or is it full scale deployment at this point?
Well, it's multiple pallet orders at a time.
Okay.
So, and I think we mentioned before, a pallet is roughly, just for namesake, $10,000.
Yeah.
Right. So when you start getting into multi-pallet orders and doing that on a monthly basis, that's where you're going to start to see.
Is this at one location, or is that multiple of their locations?
It's at one location, and there's other locations that they're considering.
Okay, so is it like they're using that as a test still, kind of? It's like
I think it's like anything else. You start integrating it. I mean, I know that you want us to get in 120,000 blocks in New York City right away.
That's my next question. Yeah,
I figured that's where we're going.
That's where I'm going. Yeah.
What happens is you typically start out small. They do a small test plot. And then they say, okay, this is really working for us. So then they expand it. And then the expectations are that you start expanding again, especially when you get out in the field and you start working with them and you start looking at okay, what if we do this? What if we do that?
Right. Okay. So where I'm going with this, what I'm trying to figure out is, look, you're growing sequentially year over year. Everything's on track according to your models, according to everything you promised us. You're delivering, right? But from an outsider perspective, I could tell you, me, other people, retail, we're not patient. We're looking at all this and we're like, you have these theme parks, you have so many cities now. I'm losing track of how many cities you have. You got like multiple countries now. And when I look at the revenue of 700,000 this quarter, yeah, it's growth, but I'm thinking to myself, like, suddenly some quarter, shouldn't it jump to like 2 or 3 million? Yeah, like what are the size of these orders? Because I'm thinking, like, shouldn't we get like a few 100,000 from Baltimore, a few 100,000 from Chicago, a few 100,000 from New York, a few 100,000 from Are we overestimating the potential here, or are we right to be like one of these quarters you're just going to have a hockey stick?
Well, I think you're right. When you start looking at the business, and of course, in my background, I was in another pest control area and mosquito control products. And the same thing was there, is that field trials are very important. You got to get it out in the field. You got to get it used. And then at some point, the usage will expand rapidly. And we're certainly looking at that. We think that we're just at the beginning of this, because the municipalities, the cities that we're starting to be active in, we're starting to see the sales increase. And ultimately, more and more are going to catch on. An example of that would be in Chicago, right? In Wicker Park started using it, one of the neighborhoods, one of the special service areas, and there's 55 of those in the city of Chicago. They started using it. We were getting consistent reorders there, and other SSAs are starting to catch on and are putting it in their budgets for next year. So what we'll see is that usage will happen, others will notice, they'll start using it, and then they'll start ramping up together.
Okay. So I know we've been through the math, and you're talking about the 120,000 blocks, but is that math still in play? Because look, we've been in these Chicago neighborhoods for quite a while, and I think there's multiple cities that you've characterized as full deployment, not just testing. So what is a realistic expectation if you can average it out, right? If an average full site, I know you can't do average because like New York City is like forget about New York City, excluding New York City, all these other cities you have. What is a fair expectation that investors should have in terms of quarterly, revenue per city that's at full deployment? And not theoretical, that if it's all the city, like an actual thing that we can say, to look forward to, that, once it gets to full deployment in all of these smaller cities, you can roughly say it's X amount of dollars per quarter per city. Is there some average target you can let us know about?
Well, there's really not. And the reason is this, is that each city has its own issues and its own needs, its own funding, its own budgeting. So we got to go through that whole process. What I can tell you is this, is that once they start seeing success, they don't stop. Mentioned Baltimore, right? Baltimore is one. They started their own pilot program. Then they hired a pest control professional to run the program for them. And then recently we saw orders start to spike up. So how much longer will that go? Well, we've got to keep working with the cities in order to see where else they want to deploy, where else Chicago wants to deploy, where we get the approvals in the special service areas. But I can tell you this as well, is that we start getting people on the ground, like you saw a press release about Belize. There's a classic example of somebody that's on the ground that says, this is the product we need to use because we don't want rats and we don't want poisons. And you'll start to see that ramp up as well as we get more people that are followers of the product and users of the product, and then they start telling the story to others.
All right, since I can't pin you on a number there, let's talk about New York City again. So in the conference call last night, I believe it was during the Q&A, you guys mentioned there's 100% consumption in New York City. So what is the expectation or different scenarios that can happen in New York City over the next few quarters?
Well, their pilot program is going to continue in West Harlem, and we start to see them add some bait stations to it, which is good. That's going to continue on until the end of April. And at the end of April, well, probably before that, they'll evaluate, okay, where else are we going to expand this to? Because the one thing they were looking for is consumption. There's been enough testing. We've done enough lab studies to show that the product works on both male and female rats. If they consume the product, their reproductive rate will go way down. And that's what you're looking for, the population control.
So what's that mean in terms of what are the different scenarios in terms of revenue? Bull case, middle of the road case, bear case, right? In terms of revenue and by the end of 2026, what are your expectations that you can get from New York City?
Well, our expectations, there's going to be substantial usage in it, but I'm not going to, you can't pin me down to a number because that depends on New York City and what they want to do. I cannot speak for them, but what I can speak to is that they've been very pleased with what they've seen, how easy the product is to use, where it's being placed, and the consumption of the product. And they'll continue to expand that and use that as part of their integrated pest management program, along with a lot of the other things that they've done in the past.
Okay. By the way, we're having a ton of questions rolling in from different platforms on X, on private message, on Discord, on YouTube. I'm probably not going to get to all of them. I have a couple more questions, then we'll start trying to tackle some of these user questions. Rhett, if you can hear me, if you're in the studio, maybe when we get to that section, you can jump in and help me filter through all these questions, okay? All right, so that is the municipalities. Now, you expanded to Lowe's yesterday, press release on that. Now, what I found very exciting about that is that you mentioned in the press release that you're already in negotiations to get into their brick-and-mortar stores by the end of Q2. Can you remind me which before we get into brick and mortar, at this point now, which websites are you on? Lowe's is new. I forget. Are you on Home Depot? I forget.
We announced that we're on Home Depot about 60 days ago. We're on Walmart.com. We're on TractorSupply.com, as well as, of course, our sites as well.
And Ace. Right? Is Ace
and
online?
Ace Hardware. Yeah, it's not online. That's
in the
stores. Yes.
Okay, cool. Like got the opposite effect there. Okay, so are you pretty much everywhere you want to be online at this point?
Well, I think when we started looking at this, I said, where do we want to be? And of course, Amazon was first. And then happy to report, Amazon sales have been growing by double digits monthly. Literally, we just got onto Amazon just about a year ago after we got all the bugs worked out. And, at that time, I think we were selling, $4,000 or $5,000 a month. And now we're up, at the $90,000 to $100,000 run rate per month. So we got onto Amazon and then we started saying, okay, where else do we need to be? And of course, Home Depot and Lowe's. We started talking to them. We got into the right situation with a manufacturer's rep we work with, and he got us right to the table. And so that's how you've seen those come about. So, we're at Walmart. We've got a lot of plans to expand on that. So we're in a good spot right now, but we keep looking for other options.
Yeah. Do you have any expectations, or I'm just totally hypothesizing that brick and mortar in these big, Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart would do much better than online, because I assume a lot of people don't know to look for your product yet. So when they see it on the shop, but a lot of people probably in the stores are looking for pest control and rat and mice control. So when they walk down the aisles and they see it, your sales would go up substantially. That's my thesis. Is that correct? And do you have any thoughts on what it might do? Can you quantify it all? What that might do if we get into brick and mortar?
Yeah, I think that, we start to see this with Ace, is that, we're still working with Ace and we're trying to get into more of their distribution centers. But the ones that we've gotten into, we're starting to see reorders, right? So that's the product is in front of the people, in front of the consumer as they come in. They're looking for options. There's a certain percentage that will not even consider poisons or traps or those types of things. We'll allow them to get what they want, and then the others will follow. So, going back to Lowe's, we got online. They're going to get the product, get it going online. We've already begun that process. And then their thought and our discussion has been, okay, then the next step would be, let's put it into 100 stores or so as a trial sometime into the second, beginning of the third quarter, depending on, their merchandising plans, because they have a lot of other products, so they got to make sure it fits in. So we're excited about those discussions. There's no guarantees, but then again, when we're having discussions about it, we like the position we're in order to get it in the stores.
Okay, but do you have any guidance? Not guidance. I don't mean that from a legal term, but I mean if you have a particular volume, a particular X like online, and if it goes to brick and mortar, is there any historical data? Any maybe even coming from in your talks with Home Depot, Lowe's, or whatever, maybe they know the answer, right? If you're getting X amount of sales and then you go in brick and mortar, is there something like historically on average it'll 3X in retail? Is there any such metric that we can look forward to?
Well, they all have their own metrics. So that's what they're looking for. They're looking on, okay, so if we put a product online and it does well, what does that mean for the stores?
Right.
There's really nothing that I can say at this point other than they are looking at the online sales and the potential for the brick and mortar sales.
Got it.
And on our end,
they haven't advised you, like, look, if we take you brick and mortar, we're expecting this much, or we think, or you got to hit a certain metric online for us to get you on brick and mortar, and then it'll be like 10 times. Can you handle that volume? Has there any such conversations like that?
Well, those are all the conversations that we have. It's like they're talking about capacity. What can you do if we put you in a number of stores? We've answered all those questions. They've got some metrics historically that say, okay, if a product is this online, it should do this in our space and home and garden and the areas that we're in pest control, that it should do this. So what our job is right now is we got to make sure that people are aware of the product online, that they understand what it is, and that they'll buy it. And that's exactly the place we're in with Amazon.
If we do get into, let's say, brick and mortar one day on Home Depot or Lowe's, without quantifying it now, because I guess you don't have the answer to actually quantify it, but can we? Is that like would you expect that to just be incremental growth from there, or is that like a step function growth that like overnight it could be multiples higher?
Well, it could be either, but it could be this incremental growth, this hockey stick growth. If all of a sudden they say, okay, we want to put it in 600 stores, and a pallet of material in each of the 600 stores, that's where you're going to see the incremental growth. Those are the shots on goal that we have not only in retail, but we have in our other verticals as well.
Okay, I'm going to ask one more question, and then because there's so many questions from the audience, so a bunch of people have been asking us about this lawsuit that's happening. Yeah, it was addressed a little bit last night. I think that's what the $100,000 during the quarter was, right?
Yeah.
So look, I don't know anything about the lawsuit. You guys know more than me. I'm wondering if is it possible to tell us the best case, worst case, middle case scenarios that you're preparing for?
Well, this lawsuit with one of the poison producing companies. And I think what you're seeing is that they start to realize that rodent birth control is something that is a threat to their business. We think that it's baseless. We think it's frivolous. And so I suppose that's a positive sign that they're looking at that. But we expect that there will be some resolution of this in the short term.
Oh, really? Okay. I mean, okay. I don't want to. It sounds like you're hinting at some sort of settlement rather than going through a full trial or something like that.
Well, I can't promise anything. I just know that the position that we're in, that we're addressing this, and we're in a good position.
Okay, great. That's good to know. All right, Rhett, if you're back there, why don't you hop on and help us out with all these questions? I mean, there's so many of them. Where do you want to start? What do you think looks good out of all these questions?
Hey, Joel, how's it going?
Hey,
how's it going? All right, so I think one of the first questions let's start with that also got brought up on the conference call last night was New Zealand. You mentioned New Zealand on approval yesterday. You want to talk a little bit more about that really quick?
Yeah, absolutely. We're real excited about New Zealand. New Zealand has a program that's called Predator Free 2050, and it's a national project that they're going to try to eradicate predators like possums and rats. And that fits right in. And they saw our product. They said, we want to test this. So they did their own testing. Our distributor that's in Australia and New Zealand worked with them. And we just got the official notification that the product is now approved in New Zealand. So now what we'll be doing is, working on, okay, how much product do we need to ship there? How they're going to start using it. And we'll have some type of release on that in the near future.
Awesome, sweet. And then our next question that we have from our audience here is about your the liquid product ContraPest. Is it going to be sold online, or is that going to be phased out because of Evolve's success that you're seeing?
Yeah, well, we still manufacture ContraPest, and it's still used. It's more for professional product for pest management professionals. The one thing it does not have is a long shelf life. Evolve has 18 months plus. This has a 60, 90-day shelf life. So that's really directed to professional use where they order the tanks, they use them. As far as being put on distributor shelves, you will not see that.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And our next one is going to be, you mentioned the adoption from the municipal side doing well with New York, Chicago, Baltimore. Can you give us more color on San Francisco and LA and any other big cities in your lineup? And if so, which cities?
Yeah, San Francisco and LA. So LA now has the distinction of taking over as the rattiest city over Chicago. And we like to think that we helped Chicago get out of being the rattiest city by the work we're doing in Wicker Park and Old Town. So we'll take credit there. We've been working in Los Angeles for a while. Our product's been used at the Los Angeles Zoo for about 3.5 years now. They use ContraPest, and then as Evolve came, they started switching over to Evolve. That has also transferred into using in some of the municipal projects that they're doing there, the Department of Public Works. So we're very confident there that that's going to rapidly expand there. In San Francisco, we have our partner up there, SenesTech, who continues to do deployments for the city. We've got some interest now with the Parks and Recreation for San Francisco. So I think when you look at it, we're in those areas, and now we've got to continue to show them that the product works and something that they want.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And then another, we're getting a few of these questions coming in regarding Amazon. It's mentioned that a few of your products are not attractive to rats in specific areas on the reviews, and they're recommending mixing it with peanut butter powder. Are you guys considering improving the product for Evolve?
Well, that's surprising to us because wherever we've had this product, and New York City as an example, is we have success with consumption, and they go to it. In fact, we have some international customers that are now using it as more of an attractant. We have almond growers in California who are using it to get the rats away from the almond trees into certain areas. So certainly we continue to look at, okay, what other formulations do we need to have? Things like, do we need to have some type of pellets or those types of things? And we're trying to address when we see those concerns wherever we can. But I can tell you this, is when you have this product out in the middle of a sugarcane field and they come and consume this instead of eating the sugarcane, you know you have something. And it's sugary, it's fatty, it's everything that they like. And so we're going to continue on. And at the same time, keep our eyes and ears open on ways that we can improve the product.
Rhett, you've had some experience using it in a field and a farm,
yeah, I was
right?
going to say, we deployed it at a farm, a chicken farm, and we had 100% consumption. And that's with like chicken feed everywhere. So, I mean, that's one of the things too. It's like, I saw 100% consumption in the product. So, and that's with food everywhere. So, I mean, I guess they're putting it where the rats aren't. So that's why I only thought those coming in.
Yeah, I mean, and when you start getting those reviews, and of course, you never know what the circumstances are. I mean, maybe it was put in an area where they didn't have rats. I don't know. We've seen that before. And then they moved it and into other areas, and then they have great consumption. So there's a lot of those variables out there, but we certainly are addressing anything that we hear about to make sure that, we've got satisfied customers out there.
And then we have a few more coming in here. Here is one in terms of SenesTech has been in Home Depot for 2 months. Can you give us insights in terms of revenue and where SenesTech is in terms of getting spots and warehouse? I think we already covered that here on the live stream.
Yeah, we're getting orders on Home Depot, and we're starting to do things like their Orange Apron program, which is an internal program to help you get your product more exposure. So that's at the forefront of our minds, is making sure that we're doing programs within these retailers so that we can maximize the exposure.
Awesome. Then one of the last questions here that I have on my end, someone is asking, do you expect the next 24 months that municipal or agriculture revenue will take over the online sales as a percentage of total revenue?
Well, you can see that with what we've done with the municipalities in the last year, and actually the last 8 months, has really started to ramp up. So we're going to maintain focus on that. Certainly that marketplace size with all the cities across the United States, and if you start getting repeat business from them, that could substantially do that. So what we see our online or e-commerce continue to be strong and grow as Amazon secures more and we get some of these others going. But we expect the verticals like agriculture and pest management to start really ramping up the sales. So that's where you start getting these multiple channels going and you start to see some significant growth.
Awesome. And then let's leave with this last question here. I just saw it come in. Any approval status updates for Singapore? And I saw Evolve is being mentioned in a rat documentary in Singapore recently. Can you give us a few updates on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have our distributor in Singapore who's been working with the NEA there. So there's their version of the EPA. We're making significant progress. It's a little bit slower than what we would like naturally. But we do know this is that the Singapore Zoo is starting to jump in because they really want to use the product at the Singapore Zoo, which is one of the largest zoos in the world. And we're looking forward to getting the full approval there, and we're taking all the steps to do that.
Awesome. Sweet. Thank you, Joel.
All right, Rhett, thank you so much for that.
Thanks, Rhett.
All right, cool. Well, Joel, it was awesome talking to you again. You have just to finish things up. What's the next catalyst we can look forward to? Is it the next earnings report, or anything we should look forward to before the next earnings report?
Well, I think the things that we're looking at is that, our expansion and what we're doing. And while international growth has been a little bit slower than we thought because of some of these approvals, I think that what you see with Belize and what you see with New Zealand, and we've got some others that we think are going to follow that, is that you're going to start seeing the international channel take a lot more prominent position in revenue growth. And we're going to continue on with the cities, the municipalities, the government agencies, and continue to do our work that we're doing in the agriculture sector, where there's a lot of economic value there from using a product like Evolve. Okay.
Well, looking forward to some updates, because I think it's a tough time for earnings. The next earnings report, we're going to have to wait like 5 months or so. All right. I
think we'll be back in February. We'll be back in February.
Oh, really? Oh, for Q. Really? That's February. Okay. That'll be great. Okay. Awesome. So we'll get the earnings report in February. Hopefully have some nice catalysts before then. Thank you again, Joel, for joining us. And for everyone listening and watching, stay on. Right after we say goodbye to Joel, we're going to tell you how to instantly win $100, and we're going to send it to your Venmo, and we're going to continue live trading for the next half hour. Thank you so much, Joel.
All right. Thanks, Ben. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.